Get mantra and meditation MP3s at jasongallant.ca. Today I'd like to talk about addiction to comfort, because it happens to everyone at some point in their life. We get comfortable, and even on the spiritual path there's a bliss that is within that is so comfortable. There is such a beautiful experience when some part of your ego unfolds or unwinds or unravels. Then this bliss rushes in and there's this beautiful experience that goes with it. Now this experience happens, but at the same time as this experience is happening, the realities of the physical body are also in play. The realities of the physical life. And this is what we call the integration of spiritual realization. So not only does this phenomenon happen with spiritual people, it happens just with the ego itself, where there's this aversion to pain because there's this experience of comfort, there's this experience of easiness, convenience, and then there's automatically this aversion to anything that is not matching that comfort. Now, I don't blame anyone for wanting more comfort. But one day you'll have to ask yourself, what is not just the most comfort, but what is the least amount of pain over the long run? You start to embrace the Saturnian aspect of this path and start to realize that you have no choice but to embrace the opposite of comfort. I see it with students all the time. They get addicted to comfort, addicted to spiritual experiences, and then they forget all about the realities of life. It's like exercise. Exercise hurts. At first, it's extremely uncomfortable. But if you exercise now, 10 years from now, you won't have to have something more painful happen to you. It's the same thing with making a living. Sometimes people shun their responsibilities around making a living. They can't stand to look at their bills. They have too much fear or phobias around these things. And then everything adds up. And then one day it becomes insurmountable. The problem becomes so big. A better analogy might be dealing with a physical issue, such as an infection. Sometimes cleaning the wound is uncomfortable. But if you don't clean the wound, when the infection spreads, the pain will be much worse. So when you realize that your bliss is within, but inevitably this bliss must meet the pain of this reality in order to survive, then this dance starts to happen. You start to integrate this spiritual wisdom into your ego, the newly appointed ego in every moment. The ego that emerges, there's a more organic process. You create the ego that is needed in order to deal with life's realities at the time. Always knowing that you are not the ego. So you can see dealing with small pieces of discomfort and accepting those realities can prevent massive atrocities later on. Sometimes this shows up in an uncomfortable conversation with a friend or with a family member. Sometimes it can be conflict. And yes, sometimes, as horrible as it can be, sometimes violence happens. Sometimes you have to defend yourself if you are in danger. These are the realities of the wild. These are the realities of life and death. It's just a game to do with survival. So if you wish to continue your spiritual path, you continue to survive and do what is needed to survive as you climb to deeper truths within, the truths that lie beyond survival, the truth that is the background of survival and death itself. So if you are ungrounded, meaning you are avoiding life's discomforts, realize that that is not more spiritual. That is different than detachment. That is aversion. And aversion is the ego. That is another trap. Because so many of your aversions and discomforts are not always as objective as you may think. When you change the way you think about something, the experience of that something changes. A real easy way to know if you are ungrounded is, are you surviving? Are your choices helping your survival in this life? And helping your freedom of yourself and others. I'm not saying to survive by harming others. I'm saying, is your survival and life supported by your decisions? Ask yourself, are you avoiding things that really should be done because you are believing suffering around such subject? And if so, then perhaps there's some work to do in your meditation. Funny enough, when you address these physical realities, you'll realize that sometimes you make more spiritual progress than by chanting mantra or meditation. Because you're facing that conflict, you're facing that aversion, you're facing that suffering directly and not believing it. And then you're performing your own puja or ceremony around it by following up with action. This is a very powerful way to undo conditioning. So I hope this helps you on your spiritual journey. Take care for now.